later on, because New Year's Eve, of course, is tomorrow night, and we will be preparing ourselves for it. Let's now talk, though, to Jo Hemmings, who's a dating and relationships coach. She's going to tell us about the dynamic, perhaps, between Mr. and Mrs. Coleman.
Yes.
With regard to going to Swansea or not. Jo, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Thank you very
Jo.
much for joining us. Mr. Parry says that some people are being terribly sexist about Mrs. Coleman because they're claiming that she's wearing the trousers in the relationship. Seems a perfectly normal thing to do, to say that your husband's not going to get a particular job because you've got other plans, doesn't it?
I think it's fair enough. I mean, he's not on Twitter, is he? So he's got no way of doing that on social media. So she's made it very clear, in no uncertain terms, that he won't be taking that job.
But Jo, don't you, as a lady, get slightly irritated that the way it's being portrayed is, as my broadcasting partner just said, this means she's wearing the trousers, she's telling Chris what to do, she's dictating the policy for the family. That's outrageous, isn't it? If there are a couple like that, they've probably discussed it before that tweet went out.
Yeah, I think she's a spokesperson for them, let's put it like that.
Yeah.
And whether that's by agreement or default, I don't know. But clearly, yes, it's something they've discussed. There's nothing in anything he's said at any point which said he was going to take that job. He's also said he was going to move abroad. It's like she's closing down rumour, and it's her role, and that's fine. You know, she's on Twitter, she does it, she's got loads of followers.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
I wonder whether she's done it at his behest, because in a way it takes the heat off him, because he doesn't have to answer to Swansea and say, look, I can't really be interviewed. Because you know how some people don't like to say no. They find it difficult to turn people down. And this has kind of done it for him, if you like.
It has, yeah. It may well be him saying, you put something out there, and then that just closes it down. It closes down the rumour mill, stops Swansea making any other kind of an approach. I mean, possibly he was contemplating it. It's a lot of money he was going to get.
Oh, yeah, £1 million a year more.
Well, that's the other thing, you see, because my broadcasting partner, Mr. Parry here, worships money. He thinks that money is the most important thing in
I think it makes the world go round.
In any relationship. And
Quite a lot, though, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of an influence. But I suspect they had this conversation. He may have, for a moment, thought, come on, it's amazing money, it's an amazing job, what about it? And she probably said, no, we've already decided, nothing is going to change that. And so by her putting it out there on social media, it's both saying to the people out there, okay, this is what isn't happening, and also making sure that he is 100% clear that there is no room for reconsideration. I think.
It is quite an unusual situation, though, is it not, in the world of football? Because generally speaking, what we see of footballers' wives, for want of a better phrase, is that they tend to put up with an awful lot, regardless of what their
Well, I think that's stereotyping.
Well, no, hang on. I'm not stereotyping. I'm talking about specific instances of players that we know. We don't have to name them, but the players that we know who have been caught with other women. More often than not, the wife forgives them, takes them back, because they quite enjoy the lifestyle, and it appears anyway that they don't really.
She's not your average football wife, is she? Really?
I'm not
Oh
suggesting
no, come on, Joe, that's not fair. You're trying to make out that the average football wife is some bimbo who's been picked up in a nightclub or something.
2016.
No, you can, but what I'm saying is, I know.
Her career is pretty mega in its own.
Exactly. She's a very independent woman, and
a lot of them aren't. So she doesn't need his money to kind of for her lifestyle, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the thing is, they've just had another child. They've had a second child, right? So my next question to you is this the development of the mechanic of the modern day marriage, where it's a lot more 50-50 these days than it was, say, when my parents, were having children, and it was literally, dad sitting by the fireside with his pipe while mother was hoovering the room.
This is why he's never been married, you can tell, Joe, can't you?
That's a bit harsh.
I've now got a picture in my mind that I can't unsee.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it's the way it's been going for a long time. There's a few old traditional situations, and you might say that about footballers and their wives, that we still hang on to from the 80s and 90s when they first appeared. And this is clearly a very different sort of relationship. Yeah, it's much more modern. It's much more balanced already before she said anything. So, it would come as no surprise that she was a spokesperson on social media. He's not even on it.
Yeah. But could it also be as well that while this is quite a lot of money, it's not a massive amount of money like he could possibly be offered to go to somewhere like China, which is a much bigger upheaval than moving to Swansea. And the job maybe isn't all it's cracked up to be, because the bottom line is that Swansea are probably going to go down. They're probably going to be relegated, and he may not want to be associated with them.
Absolutely. He's never said he wanted to be associated with them, really. He certainly didn't want to kind of manage them. So I think they just kind of stick into what they said. And you're absolutely right. This whole moving abroad probably isn't a nice little chateau in France where they make their own wine. It's probably, stop shocking great job we don't yet know about.
Well, exactly.
Now, what would you say to Mr. Parry, Joe, as a man who has been a lifelong bachelor, confirmed bachelor, doesn't really...
No, excuse me, I'm not a confirmed bachelor, Joe. What happened is...
What are you then?
Excuse me,
are you a bachelor or not?
Excuse me, I've been very ambitious in my life, and I always thought that one of the problems with trying to get on in the profession I was in, which meant travelling and moving around and being available in the middle of the night and all that...
no other journalists ever get married.
Excuse me, would kind of tie me down. Well, hang on, fatso. Excuse me, I'm sorry I'm getting abusive to my friend here, but he's...
That's really not very nice at all.
I mean, because I stayed single, I managed to pursue a journalistic career in newspapers, which got me right to the top, okay?
Really? No,
so is there anything wrong? Is there anything wrong with me having felt like that, Joe?
You want to settle down? You want to meet somebody? Or are you perfectly happy kind of ploughing on through the ambitious career of yours?
Well, surely at the end of
Sorry, Joe, are you sniggering?
Yeah, she is, because what happens is, as your career inevitably falls off a cliff, as it is currently doing...
Oh, yeah, you're still waiting for that, aren't you?
You'll stand alone...
Yeah. And you're standing at the bottom of the cliff, mate, when I do fall off it.
I'm talking to Joe. Yeah. You'll be left all alone with nothing but a bunch of old cuttings to surround you, and you won't have any companionship.
What's a ridiculous scenario?
Never too old for love. You can get on with it. You just got to want it. You just got to kind of put that as
He wants it, all right. He just doesn't want it for very long.
It'll work around your career. But
Joe,
you sound like you're having fun.
Joe, I can assure you, I have turned down many, many more proposals than I've made. Okay,
have you?
That's all I can say.
There's something good going on.
Well, you made two, to my knowledge, so
Sorry?
you must have turned down more than two.
Excuse me, I'm not getting into that. Honestly, it's quite ridiculous.
It's down to numbers, really, isn't it?
Of course, it's down to numbers. Yeah.
The two times he did propose, it was when he was in a state of drunkenness, and then he had to retract the proposal the following day.
Just honestly, absolutely outrageous. See, once again, stereotypes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the point is, Coleman's clearly got a modern marriage. Most footballers I know are married to very intelligent women. I just think that this actually shows new balance in the new man, new woman relationship.
Yeah, and anybody that's turning around and saying she's way too ballsy and she shouldn't be speaking out of turn are kind of wrong, because
of course they are.
She's a spokesperson in that relationship, and this is 2016, and that's perfectly acceptable.
Exactly right. How will you be spending New Year, Joe, since you're on?
How will I be spending New Year's Eve?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not asking you out on a date or anything. I'm just asking you what you're doing.
Well, you see, I don't like New Year's Eve that much, so I am spending it probably with a bottle of champagne and Bridget Jones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have some sort of relationship problem as well, then?
Look, me and Bridge, we've had a relationship for a long time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, once a year, though, really.
I see. Okay. So you and I have a lot in common, Joe. Yes.
Sounds like we might.
Oh, well, there you go.
Certainly hope not.
Yeah.
Well, listen, have a lovely time, Joe. Thank you very much indeed.
Joe, thank you very much.
Dating and relationship coach. What do you think you've got something in common with her for?
Well, because, Joe's decided to go on
you're going to be watching Bridget Jones.
An independent path through life, and I have, you see, and you think there's something wrong with that, but of course the top people these days make up their own mind about it.
The top people?
They don't get sucked into relationships because they think society demands that they should.
You fear intimacy, don't you?
I don't fear intimacy at all. I welcome intimacy in certain situations, but I don't want to get into that, do I?
No, there isn't time, luckily, for you. This is talkSPORT.